everyone, welcome to my channel. For those who don't know me, my name is Nadia and I have a beautiful nearly 8-month-old son, depending when I post this video. And in today's video I'm going to be doing a full pregnancy journey / experience story time, because a lot of you have requested for me to do this. And just a disclaimer out there, I'm not in any way, shape or form trying to tell any pregnant mums or any women who are trying to get pregnant this is how your pregnancy is going to go, because every pregnancy is unique and every baby is different. This is just solely my experience because a lot of you want to know. And I sure as hell, when I was pregnant, I wish that I had videos like this to, you know, look upon to see like what actually happens during pregnancy, because they don't really tell you about this kind of stuff. Now I've got some notes on my phone that I used. I might split this video into parts depending on how much I talk and how much detail I talk in, but I try not to make this video like long as hell because I'm sure a lot of you will like lose concentration. I'm going to include like some timestamps or like specific dates and events that I thought were important for me during my pregnancy. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So it all began when I found out I was pregnant. I found out I was pregnant on Friday, October the 11th, 2019. And this was just literally a random day. I was out with one of my friends. We were in Piccadilly. Because I had missed my period, I had like a really weird feeling, but I was like, nah, it's gotta be nothing. We ended up going to Boots. I bought a pregnancy test for myself. She ended up asking me what I needed it for. I was like, nah, it's not for me, it's for my friend, but clearly like it was for me. So I ended up leaving her, we said our goodbyes, and I ended up going to my workplace because that I feel like is where I'd get the most privacy, because I didn't know where the hell to take the pregnancy test at the time, and I really was eager to take it as soon as possible. So luckily enough, one of my friends was working, so I was just like, hi, how are you? Rushed to the toilet. I'm sitting on the toilet now and I'm just peeing on the stick. I flipped the stick over so I didn't see the results, so I closed it, I put it on the where the sink is, and I just let it marinate for like 2-3 minutes. I was so calm because I was like, nah, no way in hell, no way in hell. I'm waiting for the results. 3 minutes go by now and I check the pregnancy test, and lo and behold, it was a plus sign. And I just remember feeling a mix of emotions just rush in. I started like crying but not bawling out yet. I was oddly calm about it in that moment, but that's how I knew like I was going to bug out later on in the day. Bearing in mind this was probably the afternoon, like maybe like 4 or 5 in the afternoon. This was like a surprise to me, but I had a feeling because I had like a lot of discharge. I had a lot of white discharge, and obviously when I googled it, it said it's a sign of pregnancy, but I'm just like, no way, there can't be a way. And then I ended up telling my friend who was working there, and I'm so thankful she was there because she was very supportive. She was able to comfort me for a little while. But also on the day that I found out, I told my son's father as well on the same day. The next thing that was in my head was to tell who are now Phoenix's godmothers. So I ended up texting them on our group chat and I'm like, guys, can we meet up? I really have to tell you something, blah blah. I feel like they instantly knew that like I was pregnant. I just ended up crying so much. Ever since, you know, in secondary school you learn about abortion and RE and everything, I automatically knew like I've been against abortion. So I'm just like, there's no way I'm gonna abort this baby. But there was a lot to think about at the time. Phoenix's godmothers, they were very supportive, and I can't lie, I wouldn't have made it through my pregnancy sanely without them. And then the next day afterwards, on Saturday the 12th of October 2019, that's when I decided to tell my family. They were oddly okay with it. I remember waking up in the morning and I was crying because I just remembered, I was like, fuck, I'm pregnant, like I have to tell them eventually. I was actually going to long out telling them, but something on that day told me I have to tell them today, like I have to tell them today. So I remember being in the kitchen with my mom and my dad, and I'm just like, I'm crying now, and I'm just like, I missed my period, blah blah, because I'm the youngest in the family, because it's me and my sister and I'm the youngest, so I'm basically like the baby. And I'm just like, I missed my period, and I started crying. And then my mom was like, what does that mean? She's like, are you pregnant? And I just started nodding. I'm like, yeah. And I honestly thought she was gonna like get so angry at me and start shouting at me, but she didn't. She just started hugging me and telling me, well, whatever you decide, we'll support you, and this is gonna be difficult. And like, she did kind of grill me and say like, why were you know, doing the deed in the first place? But other than that, she was quite supportive. And my dad was even more supportive at the time. He was really happy about it, probably more happy than I was. I thought he was gonna get angry, but he hugged me and he was just telling me that everything's gonna be fine, that he's gonna support us all the way. From that day, that's when me and the godmothers decided to nickname Phoenix Baby Churro, because we didn't know if he was a boy or a girl. I didn't know what I wanted to name him, but at the time I was craving churros, so we nicknamed him Baby Churro. That whole time it stuck throughout my whole pregnancy and everyone I told. And so on that same day I had my first appointment at a hospital, which I'm going to keep private, and I was already like I think 3 weeks down the line, and the lady I spoke to, one of the midwives, this is when she started telling me what type of vitamins to take. I took pregnant care, just take one every day, and I was also told to sleep on the side, and I noticed that I mainly slept on my left side. I was also told if you sleep on the left it's a boy, if you sleep on the right it's a girl, but we'll talk about old wives' tales later on. On that day I started doing so much research since then, and I use these like specific apps. I use this app called What to Expect, and even I still use it now, and it tells you different articles you can read every week, and it updates every week depending on the age of your baby. And I also had this app called Pregnancy Plus, which is also really good, which I don't have anymore because when you give birth it updates to this one called Baby Plus. That one's also good. It helps track your baby, their health and how they're developing every single week. So this leads me on to the first trimester. So that's between month 1, 2 and 3, usually between week 1 to week 13. On the Thursday 17th of October 2019, so this was literally just a week after I found out I was pregnant, me and my family found out my dad had been diagnosed with cancer. He was on stage 4. There was a lot on my plate at the time, so I had to take things one at a time basically, and he kept assuring me that nothing was wrong, he'll be okay, because he wants to meet his grandson and everything. And then I had to cancel a performance I was supposed to have in December. Actually, I was meant to have a paid performance in December, but I had to cancel that due to all of these like personal reasons, and I felt really like shit about it because that was supposed to be like my first paid performance. But at the same time, it's something that like I didn't want to force it if I obviously like wasn't in the mood for it. I feel like I wouldn't have given it my all anyways. But the symptoms I had noticed straight away in the first trimester after I found out was that I was taking so many naps, and like me anyways, I'll take a lot of naps, but I noticed I took so many naps, and I noticed I went to the bathroom a lot. I was peeing all the time, like every like 10 minutes. However, I did not get any morning sickness. You won't always get morning sickness. I had some nausea, some headache, some dizziness, but I didn't think it was because I was pregnant. I just thought, well, because like it's really hot in the room. And I did notice I had an increased sense of smell. There's somebody who used to work at my workplace. For those who are watching who work at my workplace, you know who this is. There was someone there who used to smell, and like I noticed during my first trimester, every time I walked past him, that smell was even stronger. Things I did crave, I didn't really crave anything sweet. I craved a lot of savory food and fruits, but nothing really like sweet. Like I didn't crave any desserts, I didn't crave ice cream, I didn't crave any of that. That's why I also felt like the baby was a boy, because I also heard another old wives' tale that if you crave something sweet it's a girl, if you crave something savory it's a boy. But obviously I don't know if that's true in every case, but in my case it was. And so on the Wednesday 13th of November 2019, I had my first midwife appointment, like officially. I was 10 weeks down the line now, no bump yet, and this was more of like an introduction to the pregnancy. She gave me a lot of booklets about what's going to happen. My pregnancy was also in the winter time, so I had to take 2 injections, which I'll get into later on. We had like an estimate due date, so Phoenix's due date was meant to be on the 13th of June 2020. We did a couple blood tests and urine tests. You have to do urine tests every time you go to a midwife appointment. Eventually she'll start measuring your bump, but that's later down the line. She'll check your blood pressure every time as well, and you're also given a blue book. It used to, years ago, it used to be like a red book, because when I was a baby I had a red book, but they'll give you like a blue book. It's like a blue folder. They'll put all your documents, like your medical documents, into it, and you have to bring it to every appointment, wherever you are, the hospital, or even just to see your midwife, because it's got all of your documents and your information about your scans and everything. And then that's when you get to choose the hospital of your choice, and I chose the hospital that I was born in. Moving on to Wednesday the 27th of November 2019, that was the day that my dad passed away. It was just a little bit over a month since we found out he had cancer. He got very weak very quickly. His physical appearance changed very quickly. There was only so many things he could do, and he was in the hospital for basically the whole month. I remember feeling very lost because I didn't know what to do, because out of everyone he was probably the most supportive. It also stuck with me, and even to this day it sticks with me a lot, because I was there by his side when he had passed away. I physically saw him take his last breath. Words can't really explain how I felt at the time. I was actually singing to him like 10 minutes before he had passed away. At this point he had already, like, every part of him had shut down, and I think the only thing that was physically working was his hearing, and that's what we were told as well. So I was just like, let me just sing to him. I haven't sang to my dad in a long time. My sister and my mum were also there, but they were asleep on another bed. But I was like, I wanted to stay awake, because on that day as well I had a really bad feeling. So I was like, I'm just gonna stay awake with him all night, it's not a problem. And And so I was holding his hand, I was singing to him, and I was just looking at him. His breathing got very, very slow. And then at one point, he took his last breath. It was like he let out a really big sigh. That night went by pretty quickly. Directly the day after is when we started arranging his funeral plans. But other than that, my first trimester went pretty quickly. Usually when you're 12 weeks or less, you're not really supposed to tell anyone about it because it's also seen as bad luck. So then on the 4th of December, it was a Wednesday, 2019, I had my first ultrasound scan. That's when I was 12 weeks. And so that's when I saw baby for the first time. When you go to your ultrasound, you have to have a full bladder or else they can't see the baby properly. So obviously I was really bursting to piss, but I had to hold it. I went with one of Phoenix's godmothers, and then I also went with the father's mother. They both accompanied me to the ultrasound, and we all saw the baby together. And this was before like corona was a thing, so we were all allowed in the room. They were all looking at the screen with me, and I must say, when I first saw Phoenix, his head was massive. And then that's when the due date was officially confirmed to be the 11th of June 2020. He came out after 10 days. He was 10 days late from his due date. The gender was not confirmed yet. When you're 12 weeks down the line, you can't really see, the private parts haven't formed yet, so we didn't know the gender, but it was fine because I got to see him for the first time. I already had a feeling that it was a boy. So I didn't get to record an outro for this, but this is part 1. I'll be posting part 2 later on because I have a lot to edit. But if you've enjoyed it so far, please give it a thumbs up and let me know if you want to see more videos like this, and make sure you stay tuned for part 2.